Roelof Opperman, you are partner and co-head of Europe at Fifth Wall. Thank you for joining us on BiTV.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Fifth Wall recently announced that it had closed and oversubscribed 140 million euros for its European Real Estate Technology Fund, raising capital from some of the largest real estate owners and developers in Europe. What will be your investment strategy as you look to deploy this capital?
Sure. So we're focused on Series A through C companies in the European ecosystem plus Israel. And the idea really is kind of twofold, right? One is kind of the brightest and best entrepreneurs and concepts and innovations in Europe, based in Europe, that are going to work within their domestic territories. So a lot of times you have really big markets in these domestic territories, French residential transactions, for instance, in homes, massive market. We're going to look for the best people doing technology in that area or coming up with solutions. The next thing we're going to do is when we find a team that has a company that is really scalable, that really can scale across Europe and to the US or to the Middle East or to Asia, we're going to support that team. We're going to work with them, with our partners in other geographies to expand that solution to the new geographies. And then we're going to take it across the pond to the US, and we're also going to take it to Asia and the Middle East with our partners there. So we're really fortunate to have, in addition, an incredible group of European-based partners, but we also have obviously a massive amount of partners in the US and a good amount of partners in the Middle East and Asia that are each in their territory, some of the biggest owners and operators. And so they're always looking for the best solution. They don't really care where it comes from, right? They just want the best solution. And so we're really going to use our strategic network to help those companies expand and become really great companies and really big companies.
And you alluded to it. Fifth Wall is the largest venture capital firm, and therefore in the world, and it's focusing on property technologies all over the world. You invest all over the world. How do you perceive the European PropTech ecosystem? How does it distinguishes itself from maybe other parts in the world?
Yeah, great question. So look, I think one of the reasons that we felt strongly about doing a European fund is, one, we saw a huge amount of opportunity here. Europe is gaining a lot of new venture funds, and it certainly is becoming more and more a target area for US funds and Asia-based funds and Middle Eastern funds. But it's still early in the ecosystem of VC. So we really thought this was a great opportunity to be one of the first big players into Europe. And expand here and really support opportunities here. So in the PropTech area, I would say, look, it's probably about a 3 to 4 year delay from the US. And that has nothing to do with the talent of the entrepreneurs here or the sophistication. It's just obviously the US has some of the, one of the oldest venture ecosystems. It also has the most institutionalized real estate asset class. So when you combine those two things, you tend to have, a very forward-looking PropTech ecosystem. In Europe, what we saw was that there was kind of this delay of kind of 3 to 4 years. And so, a lot of times in venture capital, success is through pattern recognition, right? And looking for patterns and backing great entrepreneurs and understanding those learnings. So our thought was, why not apply those learnings we had in the US to Europe? And that's why we looked at it. I would say that in some cases, what we're seeing is that, Europe is starting to be, I would say, even if not surpassing the US in certain aspects, I certainly think sustainability is one of those areas. The legislation is farther along in Europe, in places like France, obviously in the EU, in the UK. But then the other thing to keep in mind is that the energy prices are a lot higher, generally. And so because of that, when you have higher energy prices plus further along legislation, the payback period for these technologies being implemented is a lot quicker. And so we're seeing a lot of that in that particular case. But I'm really looking forward. We're starting to see some emerging areas, whether it's in residential, whether it's in commercial, where, to be frank with you, the technology is just as good, if not better, than the US. And so I'm really excited about helping those companies and doing it forward. But I would say in general, you do see a bit of a delay, which we feel is an advantage because you can learn from the US in terms of what works and what doesn't.
Okay, thank you. And therefore, maybe, as you say, technology is by definition in a constant flux, in a constant evolution, and therefore maybe the question is, how have the needs of real estate investors and developers, the technological needs, how have they evolved in recent years, and what main trends is FISFOL looking to target to accompany this movement?
Sure. So I think generally the first area that I'll talk on is in residential. Residential tends to be the first area that goes from a technology standpoint. I think part of that, and we have a lot of debate over why this is, I think part of it is just that technologists are often in the residential ecosystem, right? They're buying a home, they're getting a mortgage, they're leasing a home, they're renting a home. And so anytime an engineer or technologist deals with a problem, they try to look for solutions, right? That's what engineers do. And so that's right, yeah. So that's actually how a lot of the U.S. startups happened is, for instance, States Title, Max, the founder, went through the pain of a title insurance process and said, we got to fix this, right? So I think that's part of it. I think on the commercial end, it really does depend on which sector, but I would say a general trend is that there's been so much money come into real estate, particularly European real estate and the U.S. real estate. And at the same time, the constraints on real estate owners and operators have increased, right? So tenants are more demanding. The ESG requirements are a lot stronger. And so what's happening is companies, real estate companies, really need to be operators. It's becoming a lot more operationally intensive. And generally, when that happens, people are looking for technology that's going to help them on their operations, right? They're looking for technology that allows them to scale, it allows them to do things cheaper, and allows them to do things faster, right? And so if you look at the commercial sector, that's really what's happening is that the pressure of the money coming in, the increased institutionalization of the asset class is leading to more competition. At the same time, the demands of tenants and the way the world is changing, there are stronger demands. And so it's putting a lot of pressure on the landlords to look to technology to increase their efficiency, and then also look for new services and business lines to go into.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time and for all this insight. And thank you all for joining us, and see you soon on BiTV.
Thanks so much.